All right, as forecasted, we are getting some snow here in Michigan. It came a little bit late. It was supposed to start at 1, but I would say it was about an hour late. We'll cut Google weather a little slack, but it's looking good. It's not that cold. I think it's I'm not even sure if it's 32 or not. I think it's like maybe 33, 34. So it's not sticking everywhere, and it's really more slushy than than accumulating snow. But it's sticking on the trees and staying in some places. So we're supposed to get 1 to 3 inches. So that's pretty good for a first real snowfall of the season. Seemed like a good time to get out and go for a drive in some interesting weather. So first I'm gonna turn the heat down because it's kind of warm, because I'm dressed for winter right now. I'm actually gonna go down to a town south of here, to a water treatment plant, check out the waterfowl down there, see if there's any interesting migratory action going on, and then afterwards I do need to do some Christmas shopping. The gift I was gonna get Lacey was she got for herself because it was on sale. It's actually kind of a cool little piece. It's a friend of ours makes these little wooden dolls, and she has a really neat little nativity set that she hand paints, and so it's really great for the holidays. It's something that little kids can play with, except for the little baby Jesus doll is really small, so that could be a choking hazard. But aside from that, it's pretty safe. And the other thing she does, and I'll leave a link to her website in the description. She's on Etsy and Facebook. The other thing that she does is she'll take a picture of you and your friends or your family or something, and she'll hand paint custom dolls to not a caricature, but to represent you. I don't know, you can give those as gifts or even as toys to kids if that's something they're old enough to appreciate. So those are pretty cool. Lacey had that done for, she had a picture of herself and another friend, and so she had 2 dolls made as a gift, and it was really nice. Anyway, all that to say, there goes my Christmas gift. So I know a couple of stores that she likes stuff from, so I'm gonna check those out. One is right near our house in a mall, and then the other is about, let's see, I don't know, 20 miles north of here, and I'm going south first, so that means more driving time and maybe some autopilot in bad weather. Speaking of which, we should be doing autopilot now. There we go. Now we're set. Just got my first autopilot warning to hold the steering wheel, so I did. That was it. I realize that in most of my videos, my lips are chapped, so I'm trying to work on that. These conditions are actually a really good example of, maybe I should actually go the speed limit, of when winter conditions decrease your range and increase your energy use. So there's a couple things going on. First is the cold. Oh, it actually is 32 degrees. That's 0 degrees Celsius for those of you across the pond. And so the cold is actually not that bad. I have the heat set at 70. I'm pretty comfortable. I could actually turn it off for a while probably. Okay, what's autopilot gonna do here? I guess it figured it out. The second thing is, if you look here, so I've only been driving for 10 minutes maybe, and so the battery hasn't warmed up enough to have full regen, which doesn't matter if you're not braking a lot, but if you are, you lose out on a lot of energy rebate. You don't get as much energy back, which means your battery doesn't last as long and you're using your brakes a lot. So that's another thing. And then the other one is the surface tension of the road. When it's slushy like this, actually, okay, so here's how to think about it. You know how if you pump your tires up quite a bit, or even overinflate them, you can get better mileage? That's because the wheel becomes harder and it's there's less drag on the wheel from the road surface, because the road is hard and your wheel is hard and there's no stickiness. But if your wheel is soft, that efficiency decreases, and if the road is wet, that also kind of pulls at your tire as it rolls across. And if there's, oh, okay, it looks like I missed all the warning, so now I'm back onto manual. That's kind of a drag. So that reminds me again, I really wish the audible warnings for this autopilot stuff are were the first warning instead of visual, because I just don't see the white outline of the screen that much. First of all, look at all the white here. So out of the corner of my eye, I'm not really going to see some white blinking here, unless it's like right in the middle. Another thing is I'm kind of tall, so the steering wheel actually blocks the top part. So all I see is the bottom and a little bit of the sides. So I end up missing a lot of autopilot warnings, which is why normally I'll just rest my hand here sort of permanently. But yeah, it sort of takes a little bit of attention away from the road and directs it back to here to make sure I'm not getting warnings, when in fact, you know, I should be, you know, you should be focusing on safe driving and not how many warnings you have. But I'm sure they'll tweak that eventually. Anyway, I was talking about efficiency. So there's battery regen, there's the temperature, and then there's the road surface itself. All three of those are factors today, and so I expect to be getting much less range than normal. So 450 watt hours per mile is what I'm doing right now. It's always a little bit high when you first start a trip because there's more acceleration, and as you get closer to your destination you end up doing a lot more decelerations. So like right here, normally I would be able to use full regen to brake. I probably could have done most of that stop with regen, but I couldn't because you know, the battery's not accepting it yet. So there's that. But this is all local driving, and I charged up last night, and so it's not an issue of range anxiety or anything like that. And additionally, when you're on a long trip and you're supercharging, generally by the time you get to a supercharger, your battery is going to be fairly warm. And so, and after you supercharge, it definitely will be warm, and it will be accepting full regenerative energy input. So there's that. All right. Yep. So there's the. I've been blacklisted, which is a bummer because this would be a nice place to do this. Here's another concern about additional degrees of autonomy. It's especially an issue on these kind of streets where there's the speed limit here is like 55. Yeah, it's 55. But there's stoplights here, so I could potentially be going 55 miles per hour plus, and all of a sudden I have to come to a complete stop. That's not usually the situation on a freeway unless there's traffic, but that means that you know, it takes a little bit of time for a vehicle to make a comfortable stop from 55 or 60 miles per hour all the way to 0. So you have to, the car needs to be able to see where the car in front is stopped from quite a distance. Autopilot version 1 does not seem to be able to detect it in time in two regards. The first is in comfort. So it will detect the vehicle eventually, but by the time it does, it actually needs to do a pretty abrupt stop. But the second thing is safety for conditions like this. This is still pretty visible, or reasonably visible conditions. So an autonomous car should be able to drive in these conditions. But if it's a little bit slippery, it cannot. You have to be doing much more gentle stops during these kind of road conditions, because you don't want to start. You want to break into a slide. And I know it has great traction control and all that kind of stuff, but you know, you still have to consider the absolute distance between you and the next car. My point is that the vehicle needs to be able to start stopping sooner so that it can avoid impacts, you know, just in case there is some slippage. And I think Autopilot Hardware 2 is set up for that successfully because of the long-range camera. So the camera that I currently have, which is, there's just one, it's probably a medium to wide angle side of thing because it needs to be able to see a, you know, reasonably broad amount of area. But the new ones, one of the cameras is a long distance telephoto lens, mild telephoto. I mean, it's not like a sport camera. So that should enable it to detect cars and obstacles much sooner or at a farther distance. So it'll be interesting to see how the full autonomous autopilot and autopilot plus, as they're calling it, or enhanced autopilot, see how those differ from the original in actual degree. Alright, today, this is probably just going to be a pretty brief trip. I'm not using my spotting scope, I'm just bringing my binoculars, which I am using Vortex Viper, what do I have? 8x42s. Pretty good for the price. Pretty good pair of binoculars, great warranty, waterproof, quite durable. Yeah. So, where's my other glove? That would be a bummer. Car budged a little bit. I'm wondering if I'm kind of in some soft ground. Back up a little bit. There we go. Alright, and now to find my missing glove. Ugh, this is turning into a OJ episode. Oh, found it. I was sitting on it. Those are mourning doves. Whew, it's nice out. All right, Back in the car. Actually, I think I'll just turn around first. Definitely nice to have all-wheel drive when pulling out at an incline with slushy snow. Hardly any slip at all. I think I'm gonna go to the farthest store. Let's see if I can get directions to it. Navigate to Herman's Boy in Rockford, Michigan. Also, autopilot is available again. Well, it's not available right now, probably because of visibility. Oh, there it is. All right, let's put it on. Yep. See where it goes on the road.
Please follow the road for 14 miles.
Okay, total trip is 24 miles. I'm at 79%. It says I'm going to get there at 68%. We'll see if that's actually true. I'm going to say probably 64%. Normally it would go even lower, but it's only 24 miles, so with short trips like this, TripAdvisor is usually pretty accurate. The longer you go, the more effect a slight miscalculation has. So, one of the advantages of Tesla's fleet learning, map system, and autonomy and all that kind of stuff is in situations of poor visibility when the lane markings aren't entirely certain. So the car with its local hardware can avoid obstacles with radar, ultrasound, and also the cameras, but it doesn't necessarily know where to place itself in the grand scheme of things. So, but it doesn't always need to, because with fleet learning, the system will know where cars generally are. So it will have, like, if it's an area that Teslas have been before, it'll know like where the lanes are, where the turn lanes are, all that kind of stuff. And so basically just with GPS systems, it can know where it needs to place itself to be where the lane is supposed to be, even if it can't see it. It looks like there's there's an accident on the freeway. I couldn't tell if it was on this road. Pretty slippery out. See? 64. I'm not sure why the car cannot see the car in front of me now. I mean, why isn't the radar working? First of all, the camera should be clear, so why isn't that going? And even if it's not, why isn't the radar picking this up? So, I don't know. Well, I've hit a bit of a problem. The place I was going to is actually closed. I forgot to check the hours before I left, so gotta go to store number 2. I think that went well. My tripod is coming loose. Okay. Junk food sounds really good right now. Ooh, look at this.